Today, I am joined by Sherjan Husainie, the founder of KIRO, which is quietly rewriting how the chiropractic category works. Walk me through that actual moment where you decided, like, this is it.
I've been a patient of chiropractic because I'm a bad snowboarder. That led me to a little bit of researching the space, and that was kind of the inception point. This industry has been around for over 100 plus years. It's not efficient at all. The experience for doctors is really bad. They're overworked, underpaid, and then someone was going to modernize it. Quality is the hardest thing to build and easiest to lose. We are maniacal about maintaining that in our studios, from the mobile app to how each studio smells when you walk in, to what is the shirt the doctors wear, down to which way the toilet paper rolls.
Hold on a second. Time out. Which way does it roll?
Over.
Okay.
Always over.
I was ending this. I was stopping it if you would have said under.
I tell the team we always have 30 days left to live as a company. And we'll always have 30 days left to live, even when we're a $10 billion company. It is so hard to get someone to take $1 out of their pocket and put it in yours. It is gonna be hard forever.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Life's a Pitch. Before we get into today's episode, I need you to do me a huge favor. Whatever platform you're on, so Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, make sure to follow or subscribe. I know everybody always says that, but for a newer show like this, one subscriber genuinely makes a huge difference. All right. That's my ask. Let's get to our amazing guest for today's show. Today, I am joined by Sherjan Husainie, the founder of KIRO, which is quietly rewriting how the chiropractic category works. Fully automated studios, membership only, non-staff except for doctors. Software runs everything else. Each doctor sees up to 80 patients a day, which is the highest patient volume in all of healthcare. Here's the thing that is crazy and the most interesting part to me, though, is Sherjan isn't a chiropractor. He's an aerospace engineer by training, who became a VP at Morgan Stanley in the tech investment banking space out of Asia, moved to Capital G, which is Google's late stage investment arm, then just walked away from it all. Sherjan, what is up, man? I'm excited to dig into this and hear the story because it's quite the story for sure.
No, thanks so much, Jared. Great intro. Happy to be here. Happy to talk about all sorts of things other than being a chiropractor.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the first question was going to be, so what ails you? Why did you start now? It is honestly the first thing I wanted to, one thing that jumped out to me was in your LinkedIn profile. It just says, building my final company. And I know you've started a few companies, which we'll get into, but building my final company is kind of a bold statement to put out there. Yeah. Like, what had to be true for you before you actually typed that?
Yeah, I think, one thing that's, a lot of people don't share is it has to work. So, it has to be actually working and generating the numbers that, that matter. The two previous companies failed for all sorts of reasons. Yes, they were fun building it and, building a team, building a product, growing it. But at the end of the day, they weren't working. This business is the first one where it's a very simple lemonade stand. I tell people, you buy lemons for $2, you sell them for $4, and you do it really, really well over time. So in the grand scheme of things, the business should not fail unless there's some Six Sigma event. So, KIRO is the one that actually worked and is growing the way we want it to grow. We have a good, grasp of the joystick and taking it through the turbulence of entrepreneurship. But it also fits me really well. I have a lot of joy building it because it kind of intersects on all the things that I care about. I love building products. So a big part of our business is engineering. We have more engineers on staff than doctors. A big part of it is hospitality. It's a people business. People walk into the studios and there's no one else there other than the doctors, and you gotta, have this 5-star St. Regis experience. There's real estate component. We design all the studios ourselves. So all of those things are things that I've always been excited about, in my, different parts of my life. And I thought this was the one that kind of combined it all. So that's so building the final company basically keeps it very simple. It's all in.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I do want to hit on that, stay there, aerospace engineer, Morgan Stanley VP in Asia, Google's late stage investment arm, and then chiropractic.
Yeah.
Walk me through that actual moment where you decided this is it, this is the thing. What were you doing the day that it just all kind of clicked, that aha moment?
Yeah. So, aerospace engineering, parents.
Hopefully it wasn't a traumatic injury.
No, not at all. I was in aerospace. wasn't a smart kid, just, was more inclined towards business. So even in undergrad, I started my first small business. They used to call them small businesses back then. And it was a photography studio, just, taking photographs of, proms and weddings and portrait photography and selling them online. And then when I, actually joined Morgan Stanley investment banking, it was a great experience, learned a lot, worked, really hard, but I really enjoyed being in that tech space, which then led me to Capital G, investing in a lot of tech companies across, US and Asia. But every, company I worked at always had like a side business. Even at Google and Morgan Stanley, I always had a side business. And one of my, businesses was teaching kids how to do the same thing I did, break into difficult industry to break into. So finally, when I became VP, I realized, it's a great job, but, nothing really changed. It's just a bigger paycheck at the end of the day. And my entrepreneurship gene was like always just like, kicking like, hey, go do it full time. So I started like my first software company full time. That failed after a couple of years. Then a second one that failed during COVID. But I was like, I need to build something. You've learned a ton of lessons. So what would that be? So for the third time, I didn't want to build something that was a brand new idea. Those other two companies were brand new ideas from scratch. This was like, it already exists. This industry has been around for over 100 plus years, but it's been done in a very poor way. It's not been done in an efficient way. The experience from a customer's perspective is very, very, archaic. It's not efficient at all. The experience for doctors is really bad, right? They're overworked, underpaid. And then someone was going to modernize it. And why not me? And I've been a patient of chiropractic because I'm a bad snowboarder. And then, so that led me to a little bit of like researching the space and didn't know anything about it before 2023, right? Other than just being a patient and, booking appointments and doing that part. But for me, that was kind of the inception point. So once you kind of dug into the industry, I basically told my co-founder, hey, 6 months and we'll know more than anybody else. So it was just like, live and breathe this industry for 6 months and we'll be better than most people. So that's what we did. And yeah, so that's kind of how the inception story starts. And it's a simple business, as you can imagine, right? Which allows you to really, which is hard. It's hard to make a simple business. A lot of people add a lot of complexity and then it fails. So we really keep it simple. We do one thing and we do it really well.
When you were going through this, so the time, that 6 month period, you were, I assume, going in to the chiropractic, like you were going in to get work done, but at the same time, you were doing some deep, heavy research, I would assume. Were you looking for areas in the experience that had massive holes that you could potentially plug? Like, walk me through like that 6 month journey, because I think that is something that a lot of entrepreneurs tend to skip over, is that deep like integration within the shit that you're actually building. Yeah, no, for sure. It all started from the customer experience, right? Like, customers are the ones that are using the product, daily. So my co-founder and I, we went and met almost 140 chiropractors in that period of time. And some of them banned us because they knew we were doing like research, but then we got adjusted up and down New York City. And just each one, we learned what they did. And we got home and we'd be like, why do we need that? Like, why does that question exist in the intake form, right? Why does payment have to be made this way, right? Why are we being sold this package, right? Like, I just wanted an adjustment. Why do I need a package now, right? Like, what happens if we don't take insurance? I need to change my appointment. What do I need to do? What are the steps of changing an appointment? Like everything, like fundamentally, like first principle. And no one has ever, thought about it from that level of detail. And once you combine all those things, you're like, holy shit, like there's so much work to be done here. So we just questioned everything. We just questioned everything's existence. And that was from the customer's perspective. Then from a doctor's perspective, we started interviewing doctors and just said, hey, what do you love? What do you not like? Right? What would be a perfect job? Because obviously you went to school for this, so you kind of want to do it. So what would a day look like if and then you learn, oh wow, you do this? Why do you do that? Like, this also happens, right? And one of the things doctors don't like is they don't want to go out and get customers because it's not their, forte. And it's hard, marketing is not easy, but it's a forever thing. So how do you remove that function is one example. How do you remove paperwork? Another example. So so that's kind of how all of this stuff started. So that's the first 6 months was just that. And to be honest with you, even today we question everything. Like, even stuff that we've done for a long time. Do we need it? Like, can we, cut this one piece out and make it even faster? Like customers, it takes us about 6 seconds to book an appointment with KIRO, right? For our mobile app and everything. But then I was like, but now think about 6 seconds every few days. It's annoying. It's like you have to think about which day you want to go.
which hours are for me, which doctor do I like the most, all that like, decision fatigue. So now we just have built a function which is just one tab. It already has your appointment populated with your habits and the doctors that are recommended to you. You don't have to think. So it's just like now it's like half a second.
Yeah, no, it's great, and it's just the point of view from our perspective versus actually both perspectives, which is great, the doctor and the patient. But you mentioned something I want to come back to. Most chiropractic practices or businesses are really trapped inside like the insurance, right? You went, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you went $180 a month, unlimited, no insurance at all.
Yeah.
How was that pricing actually made? Like, was there a moment where you kind of almost backed away from that?
Yeah. So when we first started, we didn't know which way to price. Average adjustment in New York City is like $150. So we started with all sorts of like 10 packs and, hey, you can get like a 10 pack for X amount. You can get a single adjustment for $80 or whatever. But then you try with a sample set and you see like, does it work? Does it resonate? Do people buy the 10 packs? Some things are nice to have because you might think of it as from starting, perspective, but they're actually not nice once you actually see the data. And one of our philosophies at KIRO is believe the numbers. Right, just believe the data, right? Like that's going to guide you. So we started doing it, and then one of the plans we had after many iterations was $280 for 8 visits a month, right? And it was more than it was like better than most people would need, and it was like if you got 2 adjustments in New York City, it was still cheaper than that. But then people were like, oh, I only use 6. I left some credits on the table. I left some money on the table. So there's this like decision fatigue customers have, and you don't want to make them feel like they're not getting the full value of their thing. So then we said, okay, what about $180 for 4? Because then you're good if you can add on to it. But then it made the business more complex. Now people were like thinking about add-ons, and people were like, even if you did 3 adjustments, you're like, oh, I have 1 that I left on. So again, the customer experience.
It's never a straight line.
It's never a straight
line.
So then at one point we're just like, hey, forget about all these other things, because it's like ultimately the doctor guides the patient, right? And so all you need from a chiropractic perspective, let's just put it in one price and go with it, right? And it's not like we have millions of customers at that point. So we're just kind of like, okay, the few hundreds of folks that we have, we'll run the test on them, and we'll know exactly if it works really well or not. And it worked really well, at least for us, right? So that's kind of how that came about. Was there a risk? Yes, but some of these things are doors you can go back into. It's not a one-way street. If it didn't work out 3 months later, you can revert back to something else. That's fine.
Yep. So what is the go-to-market strategy right now? How do you grow this thing? Because I know you're at what? You've got 5 offices. You will be opening, or you're
so
at
we have
5
4
right now? 4
right now. 5th one's coming up. 15 more coming up in New York City in the next 12 months. So we'll have 20, by the end of next year. The go-to-market strategy, it's 2-pronged predominantly for a business like this. One is obviously it's a intent-based industry. So folks search for, they're in pain or they're looking for a chiropractor. So they'll look for you on Google or Google Maps, any of those spots. So that's a big piece of our business. The other piece of our business is just awareness. And awareness comes from all sorts of things, but obviously the king of awareness is Meta, right? So Mark Zuckerberg eats first, and then we all eat, right? Is the idea. So yeah, we deploy a lot of capital on Facebook and Instagram. We're one of the largest spenders of that in this space in the city, and then both of them kind of work hand in hand a little bit. But then there's a lot of member-led growth. All of our customers are members, so they invite their friends and stuff. It's right built into the product. There's a lot of manual blocking and tackling that we do. So we, whenever we open a studio, we run a lot of campaigns that are local, zip code specific, just like with manual folks running around, inviting, local businesses, people walking down the street. And there's a lot of foot traffic, right? Because we are retail. We don't like to be hidden away like most medical offices. So we put all of our studios on street level. So a lot of people just walk in and they're curious. They just want to learn. They'll sit down and and they'll come in. But the lion's share of all of this stuff is Meta.
Got it. What do you plan on coming to Chicago? Other cities?
Yeah. So this year, the next 12, 18 months is all New York. So we want to really dominate New York City. But after that, national expansion. So national expansion is, the way we did New York is we opened one at a time, right? As the business grew. But national expansion is all about going fast and wide, right? And covering the city at the same time. So if you go to Chicago, you open 10 to 15 locations on day one. Because this is a membership model. It's kind of like you don't want your gym to be too far from where you live or where you work. So having that is important.
Yeah.
And marketing, as you can imagine, is kind of like a blanket thing on a city. So you might be deploying an ad in NoHo, but like you might be seeing an ad in NoHo, but the clinic or the studio is in Upper East Side. You're not going to travel 25, 30 minutes to go there for a weekly appointment, right? So yeah, no, definitely Chicago's on the map. A couple of cities in Texas, all the usual suspects. Seattle, San Francisco, San Diego, LA, Boston, Miami, all of that stuff. So that's kind of the goal for 2027, 2028.
Got it. Would you ever talked about this? Would you ever go franchise model on something like this?
No, never franchise. And it's one of those never nevers, because quality is the hardest thing to build and easiest to lose. For us, we are maniacal about maintaining that in our studios. And not just in our studios, everything the customer and the doctor, any human touches in our business, from the mobile app to how each studio smells when you walk in, to what is the shirt the doctors wear feels like when they're adjusting you, because that's a lot of large format skin contact, down to which way the toilet paper rolls inside the toilet, inside the toilets. Because when you
Hold on a second. Time out. Which way does it roll?
Over.
Okay.
Always over.
I was ending this. I was stopping it if you would have said under. All right. Just want to confirm.
It's always over. And our philosophy is, 2 is full, 1 is none. So if you only have 1 roll on the thing, there's none. So, because these are automated self-managed studios. So for us, the philosophy is like, if someone goes into a KIRO location in San Diego and gets adjusted, and then they're flying to New York for a business meeting and want to get adjusted right after their flight at JFK, they're like, oh, I've been here a million times before. Everything is familiar, right? And that's the mindset. Just same way how you go to any city and there's an Apple store, you never check the Google reviews of that Apple store, because it's going to be great. The person you're going to talk to will know exactly what needs to happen. So never franchise. We're gonna own the entire spectrum of it, and we're gonna maintain that quality and have that experience to be singular across the board.
Good. I like that. It's brand. I mean, that's what brand is. That's what experience is. Like the experience at one location should be the exact same at the other location. So great
exactly.
point there. What's been, in the time since you started, what's been the actual gut punch low that you've had? Not the polished version. And what was the tactical move that kind of got you out of that?
Yeah. I think people are the hardest part of the business. Finding the right people has always been a challenge and will always be a challenge, and we continue to improve on that. It's not clinical. Clinical side is easy, right? Because we do so much, we see so many patients per doctor. Within a month, you've seen most body types, right? So you can do that. I think the hard part, and that's not just from a clinical, like a doctor perspective, but across the entire board of our engineering team, marketing team, legal, real estate, and clinical, is people who are coachable, hardworking, right? They're all in, kind of like a high performing sports team, right? You can't just have a great wide receiver and who doesn't connect with the tight end, right? You don't want a wide receiver who doesn't want to block. So it's like finding those people that are coachable and team first and go above and beyond the call of duty is challenging in this industry, right? But our philosophy is we can homegrown them, and so we hire directly from chiropractic colleges. Very rarely do we hire from people who have worked in the industry 5-10 years, because they're not a fit for our systems. Our systems are very different, but they're also they have their own way of mindset of insurance and this and that. It just doesn't work with us. So we go directly and we home grow the talent and fit them in. So that's definitely a big gut punch that we learned pretty early on, and then we course corrected. Yep. And I always tell people, KIRO is a very challenging company to work at. It's never going to get easy. If you want easy, I'm happy to refer you to some other place, right? But this place is going to be hard, and it's going to be challenging, and that's what makes it fun. So the right mindset joins it. Beyond that piece, it's just like the other gut punches. You're dealing with all sorts of consumers, right? In your mindset, you always think about everybody is going to be this same type of person, but no, you're going to see everybody and from people who have a bad day to a good day. So facing all of that as a pure consumer business where anybody can walk in from the street is kind of really eye-opening. But that surprise doesn't last that long. Once you accept it, hey, you're going to see all sorts of folks, it becomes pretty easy. And the last piece I'll say is the gut punch is your aspirations of growing at the speed you're growing at while maintaining that quality, while also maintaining, financials and all the other stuff, it takes a lot of acrobats. Like, you just need to manage a million expectations, but you can only kind of tackle one big thing a day. And, you got to let the other things kind of simmer on the back burner for a bit.
Yeah. I think that for me, what that last one is the hardest part. Like, I want to do so many things at one time. Thankfully, I have two co-founders that can kind of pump the brakes and tell me, like, we'll get to that, put it in the parking lot. We'll come back to it later. Let's focus on this right now. You've mentioned you want to build a generational company, right? And, I've heard that before. And, we've talked a little bit about, like, the plan over the next 5-10 years, how big you want to grow this thing. What's the unsexy thing that you have to be doing right now, like today, to make all of that possible? Like things that in 5-10 years, you're like, I'm so happy I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. I think the unsexy part of the business is a forever thing. I don't think even if it's a generational company, it's going to go away. We run a very lean company, right? So it's myself, my co-founder, and then it's just the doctors. Obviously, we have marketing, engineering, and other stuff, but it's a very flat structure. I think the unsexy part of this business is the constant motivation of the team, of going through turbulence all the time. I tell the team we always have 30 days left to live, right, as a company. And we'll always have 30 days left to live, even when we're a $10 billion company, because there's always someone else out there, coming or not coming, but there's always, the market is coming for you. The market is designed to kill you. Just generally speaking, that's just how it is. So you need to survive. And my philosophy is your desire to kill me is less than my willingness to survive. Right? I'll just survive one more day than the 99 days you try to kill me. So that requires the constant people engagement, uplifting, seeing the doctors, the engineers when they have a tough day. And sometimes they're not going to understand why it's hard, why you can't pay X amount bonus, or why you can't change the hours or something else, but you have to actually meet them. And no matter how big we become, this will always be a thing, right? No matter how many systems and things you put in. So I think people, challenges, the unsexy part. But once you find the right, generals in the company, the people who want to kind of rise up and lead men, it becomes even more fun. Because that is instant. It's harder in the beginning because when you have a few folks in the team. But once you start identifying a few generals, oh man, every battle becomes so much fun, and you'll win the war. Yeah,
great. That's a amazing mindset I hadn't thought about before, that, everybody's coming to get you. So shift it up a little bit.
Sure.
And tell me if I'm missing any here. Toronto, Hong Kong, Singapore, San Francisco, LA, now New York. That's not like a normal life path, right?
Yeah.
What were you?
Karachi, Islamabad before that.
Okay. So that's even, okay, more. What were you actually looking for, in all of that movement? And did landing in New York City, for KIRO, finally feel like the answer, or do you still feel like you're chasing it?
No, New York is the answer. It's the final city. Like the final company, right? It's a city that fits me really well, and I fit the city. Look, the other cities were great, but I was also, anchored to the opportunity, right? Because when I got into LA, because I was the only school I got into was UCLA. When I got hired, I wanted to be in investment banking in New York, never got a job there, but Morgan Stanley in Menlo Park, San Francisco area hired me. I was like, done, I'll take it. Then, I moved to Hong Kong because Morgan Stanley, wanted me there. So it's like the opportunities basically took me to places. But from a personal perspective and the excitement of a city, I always thought New York was the place I wanted to be at, right? And luck would have it, I post-COVID got a job in New York. Wasn't at the job for too long, but it opened up my eyes of wow, finally, let's build here. And then we started this business. Not the easiest place to start a company, obviously, but but we've proven that this is the perfect place for me to coexist with the company that we're building. And there's not a single day any other city comes to mind where I want to move to.
Yeah, it's great. I always wonder what it's like. I mean, I lived in Chicago, which is like a very different beast than New York City. Yeah. I lived in the city. I lived in the surrounding areas. What's a day in the life right now look like for you living in the city, running a business?
Yeah. So I operate on a Monday to Friday, all gas mindsets. And then Saturday is a lot of fun. Sunday is, settling, like basically recovering. Yeah. So my Monday to Friday is I wake up at 4:30 every day. I'm at the house by 5:30. I'm at the gym by 6:15. So it starts with that. I have to sweat and get my endorphins up before I can do anything. Usually I'm in the office by 7:30, 8 o'clock, right? I go to the office, even though I don't have to be at the clinics, but all of our clinics have like an office in the back. And I work from there. And start to finish, it's like, 8 a.m. all the way till like 6, 7 p.m. is just like working on one of the verticals. Either you're building the product, which is our engineering. You're working on, with the marketing team, trying to reduce that CAC. You're working with the real estate team to look at a bunch of leases and, with, the doctors on any sort of problems they're having and facing. You're working with investors to love us a little bit more. So it's all sorts of things that come up, but like it's a whole bunch of things. I eat very little. So every day I just drink this for the entire day until like 7 p.m. It's just like a protein shake. And then I'll go home around 7:30. I'll walk home usually. That walk is a good way to just reflect. I'll call my mom on the walk. And then, she listens she asks me the same questions every day, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And then I'll, cook some meal. And then by that time, our engineering team sits in Asia. So by the time I finish dinner and stuff, by around 9:30, they wake up and they're at their desk. So we are, building product again. So all sorts of issues from the day are now in their court until like midnight. And then I'll pass out. So then I wake up early. A lot of stuff has been done in the last 4, 5, 6 hours. And I check in on it before I head to the gym. So that's what Monday to Friday looks like. Saturday is, again, we have work, but, for me, Saturday, I do a couple of classes in the morning. So I'll go to Barry's and Soul Cycle. And then from 1 p.m. onwards till, 7 a.m. Sunday, it's like, I'm available, but I am like, either drinking, going on a date, having fun, hosting a dinner at my place or any of that stuff. Right. Yeah. So that's what a 7-day looks like. And then you restart again. Same thing, just stacking days.
That's great. Work hard, play hard. Enjoy it for sure. I love your mom's asking you the same questions. It's literally
always the same.
I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. And I always ask, how was school today? It was whatever. It was fine. It's the same question. I never actually get an answer, but that's great. All right. So this is kind of the portion of the show where we kick into, I call it extra innings because again, technically this is a baseball podcast because I'm a big baseball fan, even though there's not really much baseball overlap other than the logo. But it's rapid fire. So I'm going to throw some questions at you. Give me some answers. And like I always say, I will try not to go down rabbit holes responding back to what you're saying. Sound good?
Sounds great. Sounds like a plan.
All right. First question. What is the one lesson you've taught others in life or in work that you wish that more people could hear?
Every no gets you closer to your next yes.
Love it. Every salesperson should be listening to that.
Exactly. Like the restaurant's not closed. You haven't knocked hard enough.
Yeah, it's 6 a.m. when they closed for the night. All right. What's something that you love to talk about that drives everyone else in your life crazy?
KIRO. Yeah. I talk about KIRO all the time, and there's nothing else that I think about.
It's good. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
What's the last thing that genuinely scared you?
I think only health. Like any sort of health scare, personal, would make me think twice. But luckily, I've been pretty healthy all my life. But other than that, we're lucky to be here and, a rare opportunity to be here.
Amen. Yep. What is the one tool, software that you use with work or in your personal life that you can absolutely not live without?
Ooh, I like that. I think Superhuman is an amazing email tool. I tried to unsubscribe because I was a struggling entrepreneur, didn't want to pay $30 a month, and then a month later I resubscribed. I'm like, can't
back to it. Yeah, one of my co-founders lives by everything that is Superhuman. I'm trying to build this basically Superhuman in my Claude right now and tie it into my Gmail, but Superhuman is definitely the way to go. All right. What is the truth about business or running a business that you didn't believe until you actually lived it?
It is so hard to get someone to take $1 out of their pocket and put it in yours. It is so hard. And it is going to be hard forever.
Yeah. Very true. Another thing that salespeople should be listening to on this one. Yeah. It's very true. Everybody. So I'm going to go down a rabbit hole here because I think that's an important one. Everybody seems excited in the moment. They'll tell you how great it is, how much they love it. But when it comes that time to actually pull a dollar out of their pocket and give it to you, they'll either wither up and won't respond to you, or they're going to avoid it like the plague. But you're right.
Yeah, like I'll give you an example on that one. Like, we when we have new doctors that join the company, we go on like a little subway, subway tour a little bit. And we have these cards. I don't have them here. We have these cards, which are just like, hey, your first adjustment's on me, right? Like it's a free, like literally free. You can't be cheaper than that. And it's very hard for people to look at someone in the eye on a subway in a busy city like New York. Nobody wants to talk to you. Everybody was trying to run away. And your entire ego is on the line. And, and you're like, I just graduated top in my class, this, that, whatever. And here I am standing next to this person, and they won't even take a card from me. I'm inviting them to this I work at an amazing company. Like, no one cares, right? No. So, and the reason we do that is not because we want to get more customers, is because I want that doctor to know, that next new customer that's going to walk into your door because we've done all this hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing. Don't take it lightly. Yeah. Right. Like, there's a lot of pain behind that customer walking in and just sitting in front of your, table.
Yeah, for sure. So the doctors are out hustling, selling.
No, that's just as in non-Chiro doctors are.
Okay.
Yeah, not ours, right? So, but ours we do in the beginning, first week we'll take them out for like a day or two, just so they can build a brand of themselves around that neighborhood, but also I want them to feel the pain of how hard it is to get someone in the door, because you get numb to it. We get numb to when you turn on the hot water comes every time, right? You're like, oh yeah, that's normal. No, half the world doesn't have a hot water. So when you turn the light on, oh, we got light. Oh, okay, cool. No, it's not, we're spoiled. So I don't want to grow a tribe that is spoiled and thinks it's always going to be there.
Yeah. This next question is, I think it's kind of cheesy. Some of these all may be cheesy, but this one, I think this tells me a lot about people. So I like to ask it. You're going to a dinner party, you're going out to have drinks, hanging out with somebody all night, right? 3 people that you're inviting, that you're going to be with all night. Who are those 3 people, living or dead?
Bill Burr.
Yes.
He's fun. I think
that's
I think he'd be a great dinner guest.
Yeah.
I would love to have Obama there. And then I would love to have, I would love to have Michael Ovitz.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he's kind of the epicenter of a lot of interesting things that have happened in the world.
That would be a very interesting conversation, especially with Bill Burr throwing his opinion in, objecting. That's good. All right. So last one. What is the first concert you went to, and what was the last concert you went to?
First concert. I went on a date with an older woman like a while ago, and she took me to Boyz II Men. I didn't know what Boyz II Men was. And so then I'm like, and I'm an analyst. I'm a 24-year-old analyst, and she was like 38, 39. So it was a big age gap. But she's like, hey, I got to go to Boyz II Men. You got to come with me. I'm like, well, yeah, I love Boyz II Men. Obviously, I'm trying to get laid. And then next thing I know, I'm like researching Boyz II Men. I'm like, I don't know any of these songs. And then the whole stadium is singing. And the concert was in San Diego or something. I was in San Francisco back then. So that was my first concert. I think the last concert I've been to.
That's a great story.
Last concert I've been to, it was when Jay-Z and Beyonce did the tour. I think it was like around 2015. So that should probably tell you, you're not a big concert guy, but
not a big concert guy. No,
but those are the two.
Two good shows. Two good shows for sure. Awesome. That's it. That's all I got, man. It was great having you on. Anything that you want to plug? Tell people how they find you.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Jared. First of all, appreciate what you do. I think it's exciting to unleash these stories. So I just want to say thank you. I think the only plug is, guys, if you're ever in New York for now, come check us out. You can see us at getkiro.com, GETKIRO.com. Come see the doctors, come, see the experience, give us a chance. And any feedback you guys have, we're always trying to build a better company. But I just want to say thank you to you, Jared, and your audience for listening to this.
Awesome. Great. But that's it. That's a wrap for this episode of Life's a Pitch. Big thanks to Sherjan for coming on the show. If you liked it, share it, tell a friend. Please go subscribe and follow the podcast so I can grow this thing. It's still new. I think this is like 16 or 17 episodes in. So the more people we can get subscribed, the more we can grow this thing and have amazing guests like Sherjan on. And remember, behind every strategy, title, or success story, there's chaos, self-doubt, and a whole lot of trial and error. We'll see you next time.